Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the deeply tragic meaning behind one of literature's most iconic titles. Now, if you're familiar with Harper Lee's 1930s Alabama, you already know the Finch family. But we're going to look at this classic story through a very specific lens. We want to decode exactly what "to kill a mockingbird" actually means, and how that single, powerful metaphor drives the entire narrative.
So what exactly is a mockingbird in this context? Well, it's the central lesson our narrator, young Scout Finch, has to learn. A mockingbird isn't just a literal bird here. It's a profound symbol of pure, unadulterated innocence. Think about it. It does absolutely no harm. It just sings its heart out for us. And yet this innocence is constantly at risk of being destroyed by societal cruelty and prejudice. Scout learns from her father, Atticus, that protecting this kind of innocence, that's our absolute greatest moral duty.
Which brings us to a pretty haunting question. In a town completely consumed by prejudice, what happens to the truly innocent? This question just hangs over the darkness of 1930s Macomb, Alabama, perfectly setting the stage for the story's twin pillars of innocence. You see, Macomb is this tired, hot, close-knit town, but right beneath that southern charm lies a deeply ingrained systemic cruelty. And when pure innocence meets that kind of entrenched prejudice, well, the results are often devastating.
Let's get right into Section 1, unlocking the title and exploring the thematic core of Macomb. You know, Scout's ultimate realization isn't about some victorious Hollywood-style court case. It's really about the harsh, unfiltered realities of protecting those who just cannot protect themselves. Atticus teaches his kids Scout and Jem through his own daily example. He shows them that doing the ethical thing doesn't mean you automatically win a prize. Actually, it often puts you directly in the line of fire. We're going to look at two specific men who beautifully and tragically embody this harmless innocence against a backdrop of unrelenting cruelty: Tom Robinson and Boo Radley. Now, on the surface, these two couldn't be more different, right? One is a hardworking family man, and the other is a total recluse. But as we'll see, they share the exact same vulnerability. They are Macomb's mockingbirds.
Moving on to Section 2, Tom, Innocence on Trial and the Tragedy of Injustice.
Just look at the rapid, tense escalation of this timeline. We are walking right into the courtroom where Tom is falsely accused of attacking Mayella Ewell. As Atticus questions the witnesses, including the bitter alcoholic Bob Ewell, a glaring physical impossibility begins to emerge regarding Mayella's injuries. It's a masterclass in courtroom tension, speeding toward a physical revelation that honestly should have shattered the prosecution's case entirely.
The contrast here is just stark. It was literally physically impossible for Tom to have committed this crime. Atticus proves that Mayella's bruises were on the right side of her face, which, if you think about it, would require a left-handed attacker. But Tom's left arm is 12 inches shorter than his right, completely withered and rendered useless from a childhood cotton gin accident. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Bob Ewell, Mayella's own father, is the true violent attacker. Tom was literally just trying to help Mayella out of the kindness of his heart.
9. That is the staggering number of hours the jury spent deliberating. 9 whole hours. To put that into perspective, in 1930s Alabama, for a black man accused by a white woman, the verdict was usually decided in a matter of minutes. So this lengthy deliberation, it was a small, bittersweet step toward equality, beautifully orchestrated by Atticus. But tragically, the systemic racism of Macomb wins out. Tom is convicted, and shortly after, he's shot and killed trying to escape prison. The town successfully killed a mockingbird.
Now let's pivot to Section 3, Boo, the hidden savior and the ghost of Macomb.
It's time we strip away the absolute monster that the town invented and reveal the caring protector hiding in the shadows. The kids in town are terrified of Boo Radley. The local gossip says he's this spook who eats raw squirrels and stabs people with scissors. But in reality, behind those closed doors, Boo's quiet, observant, and remarkably kind. I mean, during a freezing night when Miss Maudie's house burns down, it's Boo who silently slips out and places a warm blanket around a shivering Scout. And think about these small, poignant treasures found in the oak tree knothole. 2 shined-up pennies, carved soap figures, a broken pocket watch. These were Boo's quiet, entirely harmless attempts to connect with the outside world. He leaves these gifts for Scout and Jem, which is just this beautiful, innocent gesture of friendship. But just like Tom Robinson's kindness was punished, Boo's connection is brutally severed when his cruel older brother Nathan Radley deliberately cements the knothole shut, lying and claiming the tree was sick.
This leads to a heartbreaking revelation from Jem. It becomes painfully clear that Boo's isolation isn't some monstrous punishment, it's a tragic sanctuary. As Jem grows older and witnesses the sheer bitter reality of Tom Robinson's trial, it hits him. Boo isn't trapped inside that house. He chooses to stay inside. He stays away because he sees the viciousness of humanity and he absolutely wants no part of it.
Which brings us to Section 4, the threat of cruelty and the viciousness of Maycomb.
To truly grasp the Mockingbird metaphor, we have to look at the dark forces constantly trying to destroy them. This perfectly illustrates the dual threats of injustice in Maycomb. On one hand, you have Tom facing the loud, institutional threat of a racist legal system weaponized by Bob Ewell. On the other hand, Boo faces the quiet, suffocating threat of paranoia and societal ostracization from superstitious neighbors. Both are innocent, and yet, both are mercilessly targeted.
All of this tension finally boils over into a terrifying climax on Halloween night. Bob Ewell, who is humiliated by the trial even though he technically won, seeks vengeance against Atticus by going after his vulnerable children in the pitch-black darkness. It's a sudden, violent attack. Jem's arm is brutally broken and Scout is nearly stabbed. But then, a silent stranger intervenes, pulls Ewell off them, and carries Jem to safety. The ultimate act of cruelty thwarted by the ultimate act of hidden grace. And that brings us to our final section, protecting the innocent and sparing the mockingbird.
In the aftermath, there is this hushed, incredibly reverent realization. The silent man standing in the deep shadows of the Finch home is none other than Boo Radley. The supposed town monster was actually their watchful guardian angel all along. Scout looks into the corner of the room and finally, truly sees Arthur Radley. He's pale, sickly, and painfully shy. He stepped out of his safe sanctuary to do the right thing, to protect those innocent kids, effectively killing Bob Ewell in the struggle.
Now the town is forced to make a profound choice between absolute law and compassionate mercy. Sheriff Heck Tate insists that Bo Evell fell on his own knife. He's deliberately choosing to lie to the public rather than expose Boo's fragile innocence to the destructive, gossiping spotlight. Tate knows that if the town finds out Boo is a hero, they'll swarm him with attention, bringing him cakes, dragging him into the limelight. For a fragile recluse like Boo, that attention would absolutely destroy his spirit. As Tate says, it would be a sin. In other words, it would be killing a mockingbird. Sparing Boo from that limelight is the ultimate act of protecting the mockingbird, and it brings Scout's heartbreaking but beautiful coming-of-age journey to a close. Atticus agrees to the lie to protect Boo. Scout walks him back home, and standing right there on the Radley porch, she literally sees the world from his perspective. She understands that he's been quietly watching over them with love this entire time. They couldn't save Tom Robinson, but they could save Arthur Radley.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider long after this explainer ends. Harper Lee's masterpiece isn't just some relic of 1930s Alabama. In a modern world still fractured by prejudice and vicious gossip, who are the unprotected mockingbirds among us today? They are still out there, those who do no harm but bear the brunt of our societal cruelty. It's up to us to recognize them, and more importantly, to protect them. Thanks so much for diving into this with me.